My name is Hannah Collins. I'm 17 years old. On March 28th at night, during my spring break, I bled to death in a dusty diner parking lot in New Mexico. I was a senior in high school living in a small town just outside of Dallas, Texas. Life was normal. I worried about my SAT scores. I argued with my mom about my curfew. My biggest dream was getting into Texas A&M to study veterinary science. I had my whole life planned out, a good job, a family, a little house with a big yard for all the dogs I was going to rescue. It was a simple plan, a happy one. My best friend Maya and I had been planning this road trip for months. We saved up every penny from our part-time jobs at the local grocery store. The plan was to drive to Santa Fe to visit her cousin for a few days. It was our first real trip without our parents. The feeling of freedom was electric. We sang along to the radio so loud my throat hurt, and we ate way too much gas station candy. On the second day, we'd been driving for nearly 10 hours straight. We were exhausted, and everything outside the car was just miles and miles of dark, empty desert. Around 10 p.m., we saw the faint glow of a sign up ahead. It was an old, greasy spoon diner called the Cactus Grill. It looked like it was from another time, but it was open and we were starving. The food was terrible, but we didn't care. We were just so happy to be out of the car. We laughed and made plans for the next day. I remember thinking, in that little booth, how much I loved my life, how lucky I was. I even sent a quick text to my dad, "Almost there, love you." I never thought it would be the last thing I'd ever write to him. We paid the bill and walked outside. The air was cold. The parking lot was mostly empty, lit by a single buzzing fluorescent light that cast long, creepy shadows. And that's when we saw him. He just appeared from behind a big pickup truck. He was thin, wiry, and his eyes were wide and frantic. He started mumbling something we couldn't understand. Words about voices, about messages. Maya grabbed my arm. My whole body went cold. I've never felt fear like that. It wasn't like in the movies. It was a deep, quiet, paralyzing cold. "Just give him your purse," Maya whispered. But he didn't want our money. He lunged at us. It all happened so fast. 1 second he was 10 feet away, the next he was right on top of me. I felt a sharp, burning pain in my side. I didn't even realize I'd been stabbed at first. It just felt like being punched really, really hard. Then I looked down, and I saw the blood. Maya was screaming. Her scream seemed to echo across the entire desert. A car screeched into the parking lot. It was the police. They must have been just down the road. An officer jumped out, yelling. The man turned toward the cop, and he had something else in his hand. A gun. I heard a loud bang, then another. The man just folded. He fell to the ground, not far from me. I tried to stand up, but my legs wouldn't work. I collapsed onto the pavement. Maya was kneeling over me, crying, her hands covered in my blood. "Stay with me, Hannah. Please, stay with me." And then everything went quiet. The screaming stopped. The flashing blue and red lights froze in midair. Maya's face, twisted in a silent scream, was like a photograph. The police officer, his gun still raised, was a statue. Even the killer, mid-fall, was suspended in the air like a terrible work of art. Time had stopped. I wasn't in pain anymore. I wasn't scared. I was just aware. I felt myself lift up, gently, like a balloon being released. I floated above my own body, above Maya, above the entire frozen tragic scene. I could see the dusty parking lot, the half-eaten burgers still on the table inside the diner, the vast, starry sky above. I was separate from it all. Then I felt a pull, a gentle but firm tug from behind me and above me. The parking lot, the diner, the world, it all started to shrink, fading away into a tiny pinpoint of light. I was moving through a tunnel. It wasn't dark and scary. It was filled with a soft, swirling light like the inside of a pearl. It was warm and it was peaceful. I remember a single stray thought: I forgot to call Dad back. And then the tunnel opened up. I was standing in a place that had no walls, no ceiling, no floor. It was just pure, brilliant, living light. But it didn't hurt my eyes. It felt more like breathing than seeing. And he was there. I knew instantly it was Jesus. But he looked nothing like the pictures. There was no long, flowing hair or white robe. His form was made of something I can't describe. It was like looking at the sun, but if the sun was made of love. The air around him shimmered and vibrated, not with heat, but with a sound. It was a low, beautiful hum that resonated deep inside my chest, calming every fear I ever had. It was the sound of perfect peace, of home. He didn't speak with a mouth. His voice wasn't a sound you hear with your ears. It was a thought, a feeling, a perfect understanding that bloomed directly in my soul. And his voice felt like a memory I had forgotten, the truest thing I had ever known. He looked at me, and in his gaze, I felt no judgment for my mistakes, no anger for my doubts. I just felt known, completely and utterly known, and loved. A love so powerful, it felt like it was holding every atom of my being together. I started to cry, not from sadness, but from relief. The weight of being human, the secret fears, the small jealousies, the silly pride, it all just fell away. I was finally, truly myself. But then, the scene shifted. Jesus didn't say anything. He just showed me. We were back in the parking lot, but we weren't looking at me. We were looking at my killer. I saw him not as a monster, but as a boy. I was shown his life in a series of flashes, like a movie reel playing at lightning speed. I saw him as a little kid, hiding under his bed while his parents screamed at each other. I felt his loneliness. I saw him in middle school, being bullied, the bitterness planting a tiny dark seed in his heart. I saw the wrong choices he made as a teenager, small at first, a lie here, a stolen item there. Each one made that dark seed grow a little bigger, its roots wrapping tighter around his soul. I saw the whispers. I could literally see them. Dark, shadowy things that would cling to him, murmuring lies into his ear. No one loves you. You're worthless. They all deserve to be punished. He listened to them. He fed them. Over the years, they grew stronger, and his own true self grew weaker, until their voice was the only one he could hear. My heart ached for him. I felt a confusing wave of pity. I looked at Jesus, expecting him to say something about forgiveness, about love. But we weren't finished. He then showed me something else. He showed me the light. I saw every single chance the man was given to turn around. I saw a kind teacher in the 3rd grade who told him he was smart. He could have held on to that, but he pushed it away. I saw a pastor at a soup kitchen put a hand on his shoulder and say, "God loves you, son." The man just shrugged it off and walked away. I saw his mother, an old tired woman, on her knees by her bed praying for him. Her prayers looked like thin golden threads of light reaching for him across the country. I watched as he, in his anger and despair, spiritually snipped each thread with his choices. He was choosing the darkness. He was rejecting the rescue. I saw him just a few weeks before he killed me. Sitting in his lonely apartment, he was flipping through television channels. A preacher came on the screen, talking about mercy. The man watched for a full minute. I could feel the light of that message touching his heart, a tiny spark of hope, and then I saw him change the channel. He had so many chances, so many moments where he could have chosen a different path, and he rejected every single one. Tears streamed down my face, because I understood. It wasn't that God didn't reach for him. It was that he refused to take the hand that was offered. Then Jesus showed me the final scene, the judgment. The man's spirit stood, confused and angry, in that same place of light where I was. He looked at Jesus, and it was like oil and water. The darkness inside him couldn't bear the purity of the light. He physically recoiled, shielding his eyes, screaming in agony. The light wasn't hurting him, it was revealing him. It was showing him the truth of his own soul, and he couldn't stand it. Jesus didn't condemn him. He didn't have to. The man's own life, his own choices, were his condemnation. The shadowy things he had listened to his whole life were there with him. And they weren't his friends anymore, they were his jailers. I watched, horrified, as they wrapped themselves around him. He wasn't cast into a pit of fire. He was dragged away by the very darkness he had invited into his heart. He didn't fall into hell. He ran from heaven. As he was pulled into the utter, final blackness, I heard a sound that I will never forget. Jesus wept. It wasn't loud. It was a sound of deep, profound sorrow. The grief of a king who had created a beloved son, who had offered him 1,000 chances at life, only to watch him choose eternal death. Then Jesus turned his gaze back to me. The sorrow was still in his eyes, and he spoke to my soul. Evil does not begin in the act, he said. It begins in the heart when mercy is rejected. One small root of bitterness, left unchecked, can poison the entire soul. Then he showed me another vision. It was America. I saw people in their homes, on their phones, screaming at each other, not with their mouths, but with their hearts. The air was thick with hatred. Hatred for politicians, hatred for neighbors who voted differently, hatred for people they never even met. I saw those same shadowy whispers, fanning the flames of anger, telling everyone, "You are right, they are evil, hate them, destroy them." And I saw people choosing to listen. I saw them rejecting mercy for their enemies, just like my killer had rejected mercy for himself. They are drinking the same poison, Jesus said to me, his voice filled with a powerful sadness. They think their anger is righteous, but it is a chain, and it is leading them to the same darkness. His gaze met mine, and it was full of love and purpose. You have to go back, little one. The thought hit me like a physical blow. Go back? Back to the pain? Back to that broken world full of hate and fear? I never wanted to leave this place. This was home. This was peace. This was real. No, I pleaded. Please, I want to stay with you. I can't go back there. Your story is not finished, he said, his love washing over me like a warm wave. It is not a story for you. It is for them. Go and tell them to guard their hearts. Tell them to choose forgiveness before it is too late. Teach them to love. I felt his presence wrap around me, like the most comforting hug I've ever known. It was the hardest goodbye of my life. I didn't want to go. It felt too good to leave, but I knew I had to. It was a command given in perfect love, and then I was falling. The light faded, the peace was ripped away. It was replaced by cold, by weight, by pain. I took a sharp, rattling gasp. A blindingly bright light was shining in my eyes. There was a horrible tube stuck down my throat, and I was choking. Beeping sounds were all around me, fast and frantic. My side was on fire. A woman in scrubs was standing over me. Her eyes were wide with shock. She screamed for a doctor. She's breathing on her own. I tried to talk, but I could only make a gagging sound. Tears started streaming down my face, hot and real. I had just left heaven, and I was back. I later found out that I had been clinically dead for 11 minutes. They had been about to call my time of death when my heart just started beating again. The surgeon told my parents he had no medical explanation for it. The damage should have been too severe. I shouldn't have survived, and if I did, I should have had massive brain damage. But I was fine. Perfectly fine. I'm telling you all of this for one reason. It's the message Jesus gave me to give to you. He didn't ask me to tell you who to vote for. He didn't ask me to tell you which church to go to. He asked me to tell you to look inside your own heart, right now. Is there a bitterness there? Is there an unforgiveness you're holding on to? Is there a person or a group of people that you hate? That feeling, that self-righteous anger, that feels so good, so justified, that is the poison. It's the whisper. It's the same seed of darkness that grew in the heart of the man who killed me. I know it's hard, believe me, I know. But you have a choice. Every single day, you are offered chances to let go of that anger and choose mercy. A chance to pray for someone you disagree with. A chance to forgive someone who hurt you. A chance to turn off the news and just love the person right in front of you. Please, don't reject those chances. Don't keep cutting those golden threads of grace. Because what he showed me is terrifyingly real. Heaven is real. Hell is real. And the choice, every single day, is ours.